Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth and Tom Hayes.
And back together again, we are here in Columbia at our studios, downtown Main Street. The Gang of Three, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes. I should say the Gang of Four because the Steak Man is part of the gang as well. Maybe the most, well, not the most important, that would be me. Maybe the second most important member of the gang. Hope everybody had a great weekend, certainly did. Have a great weekend. Had a great week in Myrtle Beach with the North-South. Congratulations to all the players and the coaches. Congratulations to Mr. Football, Matt Colburn from Dutch Fork. Very fine selection by the panel that chooses Mr. Football every year. Now we're on to the Shrine Bowl. Practice began today. Coach Ben Freeman from Pillion. We'll be talking with him a little bit later on in the program tonight. At least we're planning to. Dabo Sweeney meeting with me a little bit to talk about the Tigers' practice today back at work, getting ready for their bowl game. Yes, South Carolina, believe it or not, people, they still have a football team. It did not all go down the drain over the weekend. It might have felt like to Gamecock fans the world was coming to an end, but it continues, and they began conditioning today, and they'll be on the field tomorrow getting ready for their bowl game. So, K-Mac, I credit you with the instinct and the knowledge. For once, you got it right. Muschamp is going to go to Auburn, and indeed he did.
It wasn't very hard to read the tea leaves there, and it wasn't me.
I really thought South Carolina had a chance. No, well, we never read. I thought South Carolina had a real good chance to get him from some of the stuff that I was picking up.
Didn't you tell us that Jimmy Sexton was a good agent? And he is.
I said he was an agent for Muschamp and Spurrier.
Yeah. I thought he did a great job, ATM in Houston and South Carolina, to get all he could. And he almost got paid more than the head coach. If you look at the contract.
What did the numbers end up being?
I think he's about $200,000 less than the head coach. I think 3.5 or something like that.
Wow.
I mean, I think it's a little under $2 million annually, but he's one of the richest coordinators in the history of college football. And it just made sense that he was going to go to Auburn. All the legitimate buzz from national college football guys who I know and trust were saying it was heading in the Auburn direction. I think there were some USC board members that were optimistic, had false optimism. Steve Spurrier, everything he said didn't lead you to believe that he was going to hire Will Muschamp. He's not that cat and mouse type of guy. He's a pretty straight shooter, and he was asked point blank about Will Muschamp and answered it pretty directly. So I was not that Will Muschamp ended up at Auburn. Now, if you're South Carolina, it is a complete meltdown right now among Gamecock fans. I was getting countless text messages over the weekend and tweets, and people are really freaking out.
They just need to calm down. I'm going to calm your nerves during the program.
Corn's going to calm you down.
Right? So put your pills away, put your knives away, put your guns away. No reason to use any of that. Back in a moment. know what this week is? You know what this week is, bro? K-Mac, you know what this week is? State Man, do you know what this week is?
It's Clemson Carolina week.
It,
Basketball.
bro, you and I, we must be brothers from a different mother. We think so
Probably.
much alike. It is Clemson week again for basketball. People going to be as jacked for basketball as they are for football?
This brings up the other thing. I'm going to bring it up again. I mean, Florida State used to do it. I don't think they do it every year now. Georgia Tech have the basketball game in the same place the football game was had that year on Friday night.
You mean before the game?
Yeah, because
but you know what? Think about
this.
Well, this is true. That's the sad thing. If you're a USC Clemson student, you're missing the football game if you don't live around here and have to go home for Thanksgiving. And now you're going to miss the basketball game because you've gone home for Christmas. But the positive side of playing it now is that both teams have had a month to sort of sort some things out and kind of determine what they are and where they're headed. And I think we have a chance for an excellent basketball game Friday night in Columbia. Clemson with an impressive win over Auburn after coming back to beat Arkansas the week before. And of course, South Carolina feeling pretty good about itself still after that blowout win over Oklahoma State a little over a week ago. You wonder how stale the Gamecocks might get with about a 2-week break between games, while Clemson will have the break from yesterday to Friday, so they'll have about a 4 or 5 day break. We'll do a lot on that game leading up to it on Friday night in Columbia. Our phone number, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, @SportsTalkSC. On Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. And the website is sportstalksc.com. Now, I know the Gamecock fans were in a tizzy because they were getting hit by one brick after another. Now, you had the decommitment of Paris Palmer on Friday. And then Friday night, the confirmation that Will Muschamp was going to Auburn. And then Saturday morning, Josie Milton decommits. And all of a sudden, this good-looking recruiting class is coming apart, especially amongst offensive linemen. But, you know, sometimes you're better off not getting things that you wish for. And I'm not saying that Will not have been a positive addition to South Carolina, but is Steve Spurrier just going to sit pat and ride the horse that he's been riding, play the hand that he's got, work with the staff that he has now, let them continue to recruit, realizing that a lot of the defensive woes from 2014 were due to a couple of things. Number one, major inexperience. And number two, talent drop-off. He has been saying all along that help is on the way. So if they hang on to Marquavius Lewis and get him to sign on Wednesday, that's an immediate starter at defensive end. They're in really good shape to land a 290-pound defensive tackle on Wednesday. It's 50-50, but I think it might be maybe heading their way. And we'll talk more about him in recruiting. So you get another junior college defensive lineman in. You see a secondary that for all the issues they had this year, learning under fire, they're going to be better simply because they're a year older and a year more mature next year. And those linebackers will be better and back. So, you know, people were so quick to want to fire Ward, fire Brown, fire Bodkin, fire Adams, the whole deal. But sometimes the move that you don't make, pro, can turn out to be the best move.
Well, case in point, we all remember when those ogres up front for Clemson this year were little pups.
Yeah.
They were getting knocked around, and everybody say, how do we recruit these guys? And then suddenly you look up and they own a lot of All-America teams. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit of a growth. Now, Will Muschamp, I can't get in his head. But if you notice Will Muschamp, his career, he likes to go to established programs. I think South Carolina scared him off because it's not established. What is he? Auburn. He went to Georgia. He coaches at Auburn. He goes to Texas. He goes to Florida. Apparently, he, like Nick Saban, I don't want, you know, as Steve Spurrier said, Nick want to show how good coach is, get a team like South Carolina where they don't have a tradition and build something.
Yeah, I mean, if Muschamp was dying to be a head coach so soon, he could have gone to Houston. Looks like Houston's going to hire the OC from Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean,
he could have gone to Houston.
Was he the main candidate there? You know, he ended up probably about where he wanted to be in the long run, and he'll get another crack somewhere. Heck, he might get a crack at South Carolina down the road. There's no reason to think that if he has a lot of success at Auburn and in 3 or 4 years whenever Spurrier hangs it up, that Ray Tanner might not take a look at him, which gets back to probably what seems like the biggest issue for South Carolina right now is just the uncertainty about the program and where it is, because Spurrier has not really spoke direct. He said, "Oh, I'm going to come back," and then he said, "Leave it at that," and then he didn't for a while, and it was kind of hanging in the balance. Didn't want to talk about it. And then he said, "Okay, I'm going to be back next year, and you know what? I'll go 2 or 3 more years," and nothing firm on what they're going to do with the coaching staff right now.
But that's my point. Maybe he's not going to do anything. And would that be, if you're a head coach, sometimes not only do you have to put the blinders on, you have to put the earplugs in. And you have to do what you think is best and not fall victim to outside pressure. And, the fans were howling for defensive heads to roll after after the Clemson game. But, maybe he's going to just sit pat and go with what he's got.
Well,
we don't really know what Spurrier thinks of his defensive coaches. He has said some things during the season about they've got to do this better, got to do that better. But, first of all, if you're going to make a change, it's cruel to fire a coach after a bowl game, or even you wait until after signing day and then you fire a coach. That's what a head coach can do.
But that's football, though.
Well, but I mean, Spurrier's got character, doesn't he? Supposedly, I can't believe he would. I can't believe he would hang his coaches out to dry and keep them through the bowl game and keep them through signing day just to help them keep the class together and then fire them. Then again, all of them are on multi-year contracts, so he could think, well, you're going to get paid for a year, even if you don't find a job somewhere else right away. So you're not going to be in that bad of a shape.
Well, I'm thinking that probably there may be a change here and there in the staff, but I don't think it's going to be wholesale changes. They brought these guys in. They know what they can do. I would think probably, though, the persons you would talk to, and they're not going to tell you anything, is what Steve Spurrier is actually telling the moms and dads when he goes into the homes right now, what he's doing. I mean, I believe that's where the truth lies somewhere, but we're not going to be privy to that. But I just think he's going to go, a year here, a year there. And just like the Kansas State coach, who's 4 years older than Spurrier. He's just going year by year. And, when y'all get ready to make a change, just let me know. But I will say this. South Carolina, what Steve Spurrier has done is made this a prime coaching place for people. It's almost like years ago when you had the coaching staff of Virginia Tech come in, and that job is a little bit more important than it was before he got there. So it's a prime job. You can see the improvements they've made with the facility. So this job is a better one than Steve Spurrier will leave behind.
Of course, USC picked up a verbal commitment from a linebacker, junior college linebacker yesterday, Ernest Hawkins from Hartnell Junior College in California. He's from Baltimore, 6'2", 220. And he's a kid that has 4 years to play 3. We'll give you his story in recruiting. Got a long recruiting report coming up in the next half hour, so we'll get into all that. So, the Gamecocks, they wanted a big junior college linebacker. They thought they had one in Devon Durant. For whatever reason, he decided to decommit and go to Arizona State. So they find this young man, Ernest Hawkins, 6'2", 220, out of Hartnell Junior College in California. All right, a couple of other notes, and we'll get to phone calls coming up, 800-956-7266. Clemson's Artavis Scott's been named first-team freshman All-American by ESPN.com and 24/7 Sports. He has 68 catches, 851 yards, and 7 touchdowns this season. Chad Hamilton from Coastal Carolina was named the 25-man American Football Coaches Association Subdivision, as FCS, All-American team, the 19th shot to earn All-American honor since the program began in 2003. And boy, did they have a great chance to win that game at North Dakota. Just could not hang on. Back in a moment. right, we got time now to take your calls. Had some folks holding. They dropped by the wayside, so lines are open, 800-956-7266. Of course, Shrine Bowl practice began today up in Spartanburg. We'll make a visit up there later in the week. We will have Coach Ben Freeman on with us around 7:30 once they get back to the hotel, which is the Marriott downtown Spartanburg. Jair Alexander, a former USC commitment, told Matt Connolly from the Spartanburg Herald-Journal that knowing who will be his head coach all 4 years and communication factored in his switch to Louisville from USC. My thought is you're going to play for about 4 years with the same head coach. He must not know Petrino's background. But, yeah, this goes back to the statement that Spurrier made public that give him 2 or 3 more years and we'll go from there. I don't exactly remember how he wrapped it up when he made that comment to Josh. But that has been a statement that obviously in recruiting circles has been a problem for South Carolina to overcome. So this would be the second kid, Alexander, to mention that in decommitting. The other one was the kid from Louisiana, Josie Milton, who said Spurrier's coaching future played a role in his decision to commit to TCU and decommit from USC.
Well, here's the question. It's just like a little kid throwing darts at a board. What excuse do I use today? And so you ask yourself, Gamecock fans, why are the other players staying and the other two are usually where they weren't committed?
That can bring a class together. I've seen some comments from some of the other players saying, the real commitments at South Carolina staying together and, let's move forward from here. And I think part of Alexander's thing, too, is he's going to play receiver at Louisville.
Yeah.
And South Carolina might have looked at him at receiver, but I think they recruited him primarily as a DB. All right, to the phone lines we go. Johnny B. in Darlington. Hello, Johnny B. Darlington well represented in the ball game on Saturday, Touchstone Energy Bowl. A couple of good players there. How are you, sir?
All righty, can't complain, sir. Can't complain. I just wanted to say I listened to the North-South game on Saturday, and you doing the play-by-play. You done a fantastic job. I don't normally listen to those games like that, but I turned it on there, and there was no other really ball games on. I said, well, I'm gonna listen to that thing, and man, you done a fantastic job.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's my one chance to do play-by-play a year, and love doing it. Love being with the coaches, with Coach Early and Coach Luckadoo, and then we had Jimmy Moose Wallace working with us as well this year. So we try to have a little bit of fun and give you the best picture of what's going on that we can. Even create a few new words.
Like I say, you done a fantastic job. Next time you maybe take Todd Ellis's place up there and do Carolina ball. What you think?
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think
okay, well, let's go have a blessed day and a blessed Christmas.
You too. And thank you, Uncle Howard, for calling in. Thank you. Who was that? Eddie B. For calling in. What was that word I made up, State Man, during the broadcast? Spiraler. A well-punted ball could be a spiraler. Don't you think, Pro? Thanks for the call. More calls coming up. Okay, we're back. It is Sports Talk from downtown Columbia, Main Street. Sports Talk, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Your final word across the state in sports every night. It is pouring in Chicago. They got that game tonight. It's going to be a sloppy mess. Soldier Field is one of the worst in the NFL to begin with, and now they're going to take the tarp off. It's going to be wet and muddy. It's going to be a great football game. I'm going to enjoy watching them slop around. Panthers need the Bears to win. That would be the first place Panthers. Can't wait to talk to Mick in the next hour about being in first place. Right now, they do need the Saints to lose tonight.
If the Saints lose, the Panthers will control their own destiny
by
in the NFC South.
Unbelievable. All right, back to the phones, 800-956-7266 down to Charleston. Matthew, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Phil, how you doing? I just want to go back to a thing on playing on words from Spurrier. He used to say 4 to 5 years, and he would, when somebody asked him how long he's going to be here, 4 or 5 years. Well, he's probably doing the same thing again and, saying 2 to 3 years, but the coaches are going out there and using that against him on the recruiting trail. So you don't know how much longer he'll go with that 2 to 3 years. And that's just what I was just kind of thinking. And also, too, do you really think that after the bowl game, depends on what the bowl game happens, I think that's when he'll really make a decision on what's going to happen with his coaches. And I just want to kind of elaborate on that and see what you think about that. And also, do you know if Will Muschamp ever did say he was willing to, possibly come to South Carolina, but he was never offered. But do you think did he really say that he would like to come to South Carolina?
He never mentioned anything publicly about anything until he took the Auburn job. He was gone. He was on his little vacation, and all the speculation was simmering around the Southeast. Of course, he was letting his agent, Jimmy Sexton, handle everything, so he didn't really need to say anything publicly. So he never said he was looking at South Carolina. He never said he was looking at Auburn. Never said publicly he was looking at Houston or anything. He just went and looked at the Houston job. But Jimmy Sexton was handling everything behind the scenes, and that's what an agent does. It lets the boss go about his business, not have to be caught up in things that might go public. That way he's not painted in any kind of a corner. And athletic directors then have the plausible deniability when it comes to saying, well, I never talked to this coach, or I never talked to that coach, but he talked to the agent, which is like an extension of that person. So, no, he never did say publicly anything about any interest in South Carolina. Now, I happen to know and believe that there was some interest. I think that there was certainly interest in South Carolina's part, and I think to some degree that interest was returned to the point where the people I was getting information from who would be in a position to know felt like it was a 50-50 situation. And I think if Muschamp had ever indicated to them that he was going to come, then maybe an official offer would have been made. One of those deals where you make the offer after you know you're going to get the person. So maybe it never got that far. I don't know.
Well, so you don't agree with my assessment that South Carolina should feel like they've been used so he could ATM
played?
Auburn?
I don't think, I can't speak for people, but Muschamp and Spurrier are good friends. Are you going to do that to somebody who's a good friend?
You may wink at your good friend and say, look, don't worry about me.
You don't believe that there's any nobility left in college coaching, do you?
Not when the agent is involved, no, because his job.
But money could not have been a major factor for Muschamp. He's getting a golden parachute to go away from Florida. So he did not have to go out and he's getting a great deal at Auburn.
Oh, he's got a tremendous – he's almost getting paid as much as the head coach.
Well, but see, I don't think South Carolina, from what I was hearing, I don't think they were going to go beyond 1-point-something million. I don't think they were going to hit the $2 million a year deal for a coordinator. That's just what I was told. So maybe that was part of – if it even got that far with him, maybe that was part of the reason why he never pursued it.
And then, of course, a lot of people don't get the family involved. His wife has been at Auburn before. She probably likes it. We kind of downplay what the little woman says.
Well, that's true. I think the wife had a big part in that, and I think you're exactly right. But I will say this. Will Muschamp has had defenses that have given up yards and points before, okay? He's not the only defensive coach out there.
That is correct.
And so any program who feels like they're going down the tubes because they didn't get this particular coach, well, I mean, I think you're panicking.
And ask Kirby Smart and Nick Saban about their defense when they played Auburn. They won the game, but it was a track meet.
Mm-hmm. But nobody's calling for Kirby Smart's head by any means. All right, back to the phones. We go next to Eddie in Myrtle Beach. Recruiting coming up after the next break. Hi, Eddie. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil.
Hey.
Hey, Flo.
Hey.
I hope y'all are having.
And K-Mac is too.
Oh, K-Mac's there too. Okay, great. Hey, K-Mac, didn't mean to leave you out.
Oh, that's okay.
Hey, I just want to give a great shout out to my alma mater, Coastal Carolina University. What a fantastic season they gave us. Coach Mowgli and his staff and the players, they just did a wonderful, wonderful job, and I'm so proud of how far we got into the playoffs. Disappointed in the loss, of course, but I'm not blaming anybody for it. I felt like we were playing the officials as well as North Dakota State.
Well, I will
Anyway,
say this. I'd love to see
Thank you.
I'd love to see them get that fumble early. Remember when?
Well, I was doing the North-South game.
Oh, that's right. North Dakota State
to watch it.
Fumbled in their first series, and boy, they almost got it, but they were able to retain possession and went down the field and got that opening touchdown.
Great year, and they got a good team coming back. They're going to lose Chad Hamilton, but they've got D'Angelo Henderson coming back. They've got the quarterback coming back. I imagine that most of the staff will be back, so they'll be a contender once again. I'll tell you something else. When I was there Wednesday for Coach Moglia's news conference, I got a chance to see their new baseball stadium. Wow. Yeah. I mean, for a Big South Conference school at that size, wow, it's going to be an outstanding facility. It'll be ready this season, and you're going to love it. If you haven't been there, Coastal fans, you're going to love the new baseball stadium that Gary Gilmore has been waiting on, it seems like, for eternity. He's finally going to get that this year. All right, thanks for the call, 800-956-7266. I want to say this, too. I really do hurt for the Army football players. I mean, that's the one game that gets next to me every year when I watch it, because you know what these guys are going to be doing in the years to come. And you know, Army just can't beat Navy right now. They're getting closer. That's how they're feeling better about things. But, man, to watch the Army players go over to the Navy side to listen to their alma mater first, a second, because the losing team goes first. Even watching them in front of their own guys and their alma mater, tears streaming down their face because they know how much they wanted to beat Navy. Navy's just too good. They got a great quarterback and a great coach and the system, the whole deal. That's just tough.
Well,
see, tough.
But I will say this about Army. Now they know the words to two alma maters because they've lost so much to Navy. They got to know the words by now. What is it, 14 years?
13 in a row. 13 in a row. This was a close one. They had their chance, and their new coach was on the Navy staff before he went to Georgia Southern, and he runs the same thing that Navy does for the most part. Right. He just doesn't have that Reynolds kid, the Keenan Reynolds quarterback. He is fantastic, and he's going to be back. He's got another year at Navy, so they'll be tough once again. But that's always, to me, a very moving time at the end. And it's what, really, that the way they do it, you'd love to see all college athletes and programs handle things that way, with the class and dignity that Army and Navy, and I'm sure Air Force and all the service academies, but in particular, of course, Army, Navy being such a Coast Guard, Merchant Marines. Who else we got out there? But nothing like Army,
ROTC.
Navy. Yeah, that's quite a deal. All right, we're going to give you recruiting, quite lengthy, quite juicy. Back with that in a moment here on Sports Talk. All right, time for the recruiting report tonight. Got a lot of news for you. First of all, USC gets a commitment yesterday. Linebacker Ernest Hawkins, 6'2", 220 of Hartnell Junior College, California. He made an official to USC Saturday and Sunday, committed to the Gamecocks Sunday night, also considered Hawaii and Colorado. Loved the facilities. Thought it would be an honor to play for Steve Spurrier and play in the SEC, something you dream of. So he wanted to take advantage of that. He will sign on Wednesday. He's a mid-year guy, and he said he'll have 4 years to play 3. See, here's his deal. He graduated from Dunbar High in Baltimore in 2012, signed with UTEP, but gray-shirted because his SAT score was late coming through. After the coaches at UTEP were fired, he decommitted, stayed home for 2013. He enrolled at Hartnell this fall, and he earned first-team all-conference honors, 55 tackles, 7.5 for loss, 2.5 sacks. So now that gives USC 27 for 2015. That includes the carryovers from 2014. 6'6", 290 out of Butler Junior College in Kansas. Told us today he's decommitted from Maryland and will sign with either USC or the Terps on Wednesday afternoon. That's the first day of the signing period for junior college mid-year transfers. He's a native of Oxford, Alabama. He committed to Mississippi State out of high school, but had to go to JC first. Good friends with former USC linebacker commitment Devon Durant, who was a JC teammate. USC was showing interest in him while involved with Durant. When Durant decommitted, Jones was concerned the Gamecocks would lose interest, but Deke Adams contacted him over Thanksgiving, and the relationship has developed from there. And he said his visit to USC was great, a beautiful place. And he said Coach Adams is a great coach and a great person to be with. He said that will have a big impact on his decision. He said they're real tight. They talk about it every day. In fact, Jones and Adams talked earlier on Monday. And he said he has a lot of thinking to do, saying that he really wasn't leaning either way. Decision will be made on Wednesday. He made his official visit to Maryland this past weekend after leaving USC because he visited USC on Thursday and Friday. He'll have 3 years to play 2 at the next level. 38 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks this season. Linebacker Daniel Fennell, Loganville, Georgia, USC commitment, said Sunday night that he is firm with the Gamecocks. He was scheduled to visit Georgia Tech over the weekend, but he canceled that 100% with South Carolina. Josie Milton out of Clinton, Louisiana, who had been committed to USC since May. They had him penciled in as a future center, but unexpectedly, Saturday morning, he tweeted out a decommitment from USC, now committed to TCU. He told J.C. Sherbert of 24/7 Sports that Spurrier's comments about 2 or 3 more years played a factor in his decision to switch. Meantime, Spurrier, Lorenzo Ward, and Deke Adams were in Greenwood on Saturday to meet with committed defensive end Marquavius Lewis and family members for about an hour. Lewis met with Auburn on Friday at Hutchinson Junior College before heading home to Greenwood. Plans to sign on Wednesday. Told us on Saturday that he's 90% sure he'll stick with the Gamecocks, said the meeting went well. And he said, right now I am signing with South Carolina, and that's probably how it's going to be. They said that I'm the headliner of the class, and they want me to come in and lead by example. But Auburn continues to work him. Rodney Garner made a strong pitch, saying, according to Lewis, to come into a program that Auburn has first-rounders on the D-line, and that Garner puts a lot of players into the league. And he's also, of course, caught up in the Muschamp stuff at Auburn, too, calling him a great defensive coordinator. So he said the meeting with Auburn did give him something to think about, and the success of the Auburn program is on his mind, too. But again, as of Saturday, pretty strong with South Carolina. Linebacker Sherrod Pittman of Jacksonville had his in-home meeting with Spurrier Friday night, and he reaffirmed his commitment. He was talking about visiting Florida, now says he won't, says he's 110% with the Gamecocks. USC showing interest in offensive lineman Trey Denuin of Lilburn, Georgia, a former Mississippi State commitment. Florida, Louisville also showing interest. And he plans to make an official visit to USC on January 23rd. That should be Deruin, Derouen, Trey Deruin. What else we have for you? Wide receiver Denzel Johnson of AC Flora, one of the stars in the North-South game on Saturday, caught 3 passes, 58 yards, 47-yard touchdown pass, was the offensive MVP for the North. He also plays cornerback. Clemson and USC both showing interest. He talked to Sweeney a couple of days ago. They want him to come in for a visit January 17th. He's also been in touch with USC Steve Spurrier Jr. They want him to visit as well. He has taken an official to Towson State. Clemson has offered him, and USC right now is talking to him about a gray shirt situation. We got more coming up in a moment. All right, a few more notes for you on recruiting. Going back to Denzel Johnson, Clemson and USC have told him he could play receiver or defensive back. And as I mentioned, Clemson has made him an official offer. USC's talking gray shirt with him right now, so he's not sure what their plans are. And he thinks, from what he's been told by Clemson, they've had some receivers transfer, and so he said that should open up a spot for him there. He also plans to visit Georgia Southern January 23rd. Carolina Forest quarterback Will Brunson is going to sign Wednesday with Albany State. He's a mid-year graduate. 2016 tight end Isaac Nota, Buford, Georgia, a USC target, committed to Florida State today. Junior offensive lineman Sean Pollard of Southern Pines, North Carolina, will announce on Friday. His offers include Clemson and USC, but the Tigers appear to be in much stronger shape with him. He's made multiple visits to Clemson, including one a couple of weeks ago. Duke is also believed to be strong with him. He's also been considering NC State, North Carolina, and Wake Forest. And former Tennessee running back Darrell Scott. Remember the fuss made over him last recruiting year. South Carolina, Tennessee, Tennessee, South Carolina, back and forth. Out of Havelock, North Carolina. Well, he's transferring from Tennessee.
Oops.
And talking with a contact at Havelock, could end up at East Carolina. I was checking to see if there was any South Carolina involvement. Apparently not. He hasn't gotten his release yet from Tennessee. That's kind of what
and
the
a lot of schools
is.
Don't release you to other SEC schools.
Right. So he could end up at East Carolina. All right, there you go with recruiting. And don't forget, check out our recruiting online all the time for free. That's right. We're not going to charge you a dime, a nickel, a penny. You go to our website, SportsTalkSC.is. You can also check it out on Twitter with the hashtag STRecruiting. Little hashtag STRecruiting. For you old timers, it's pound sign. All right. For you new generation people, it's hashtag. All right. Back to the phones we go as we hit the top of the hour. Tiger Brian in Lancaster. Good evening, TB. How are you?
Pretty good, Phil. How y'all doing tonight, man?
Terrific, TB.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man. What I read today was that Huggins kid Clemson's getting.
Yeah.
And the Kelly Bryant kid.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim Cruz trying bowl first practice, but I just wanted to get y'all's comment on this. I want y'all to go ahead and give me a prediction.
I don't think Clemson is ever going to lose a football game again. No, I mean, I fully believe that they're going to win every game the rest of the time.
I'm talking about Friday night basketball game against Carolina and Clemson.
Oh, I thought you were talking football. You know,
I stand around on his face.
We'll talk about that in the next hour. We'll kind of break it down, start talking about matchups because there are some intriguing matchups head-to-head. I think South Carolina might be the deeper team this year. It looks like Clemson's not going any more than about 2 men on their bench, playing about 7 guys. South Carolina's a little bit deeper. That could be a factor. Thanks, TB. Top of the hour break.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Monday edition of Sports Talk from downtown Columbia. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, the Steak Man, Graham Pope. 800-956-7266 is our number. Email talkback@sports. Sports Talk. Address is @SportsTalkSC. Lines are open right now. Grab them. You can get on board. Couple of notes. The Clemson at North Carolina basketball game at Little John, January 3rd. That tip-off time has been reset for 8:15 ACC regular season opener for both teams, televised by ESPN. Clemson's first game on the network for this season. And tickets are available for IPTAY members only, and they're limited to a total of 4 tickets. So that tip-off time, again, on that January 3rd, Saturday, January 3rd, Clemson, North Carolina, they're going to tip it off at 8:15. Also, USC hosts the first ever dinner on January 24th at Seawells in Columbia. The highlight of former Gamecock head coaches Bobby Richardson, June Raines, Ray Tanner, and current coach Chad Holbrook. And I guess they'll be taking questions from folks who are there and talking amongst themselves. VIP tickets include a reception before the event. They're $125. Dinner tickets are $75. You can purchase the cool price of $1,000. So all that money you're saving by not buying bowl tickets, you can spend on this dinner for your Gamecock fans. I think it was reported over the weekend they had sold 700 of their 8,000 in the first week.
Yeah, which probably means Miami sold, what, 7, 8?
It could be a thin crowd. We'll have to wait.
Did you see the second installment of the 30 for 30 on Miami, the U2, Saturday night after the Heisman?
Yeah.
I kind of
is this about the most recent?
It kind of started with the Butch era, the Butch Davis era, and to present, essentially, about how he revived the program, and then Larry Coker took over, of course, and then it kind of slipped again. And,
I think they've been surpassed. They've been surpassed in their own state by the Criminals down in Florida
in terms
State.
of hated programs. I mean, Florida State has turned into the most hated program in America. The entire country will probably
be pulling for Oregon.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it, if you're a fan and your team is hated, you kind of like it because it probably means you're winning a lot of games.
And by rubbing people's noses in it, too.
By the way, congratulations to the Wofford basketball team winning up in Raleigh at NC State in dramatic fashion. I still got to feel that if that shot is in Cameron Indoor Stadium or in the Dean Dome, they would have counted it. I mean, that's just the way I feel about it. But it was the ball was still on the fingertips of the shooter as the clock went to 3-0.
So we've had Wofford beat NC State. We've had Upstate beat Georgia Tech. We've had Charleston Southern beat Ole Miss. So we've had a lot of Coastal Carolina's beaten Auburn. So we've had a lot of nice wins by teams around the state. More calls coming up. right, let's get back to your phone calls here on Sports Talk 800-956-7266. Let's go to Ronnie in North Augusta. Hello, Ronnie. Welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
Hey, Phil, Pro, K-Mac, how y'all doing tonight?
So far,
and
so good.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in case I don't get a chance to call you again. I know it'll be a special Christmas for K-Mac, your daughter, with her health improving. I know
Back at you.
No, you bet.
But what I wanted to say, Phil, a lot of people are blaming this talk about Spurrier with the recruits and the people decommitting and all, but I'm just going to tell you exactly whose shoulders I put it on. I put all of this entirely on you.
I have very broad shoulders.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
You keep accepting calls from Billy in Florence, and if I was a Carolina commitment and I heard Billy for 2 seconds, I would transfer as far away as I can get because I know Deshaun Watson's a great quarterback, but according to Billy, they've got 2 but probably better than Deshaun Watson coming in right now. I know they've got
Ronnie. I hate to tell you this.
Players.
I hate to tell you this. There is no reason to think that Clemson will lose another game this decade, based on what I'm reading and hearing.
That's what I'm saying. They've got 8 or 9, I think, that would be going straight to the NFL, but the rules don't allow that. And I tell you, boy, I just had some. I tell you what, the things you always reap what you sow. And I had a bunch of Clemson people over at my house Saturday night. Same ones come every year for a little Christmas party. It was nice not to have to hear anything out of them because I'm not the kind of Gamecock fan that runs my mouth when I win.
Oh, no. Far from it.
I had been so polite to them, and they repaid me in kind.
Is that the only regret that you weren't a little harder on Clemson fans during the streak?
I don't think I could have been any harder. Came back. They reminded me of that quite a few times Saturday night. But I did want to just call in and wish all of y'all a happy holiday season, and like I say, especially K-Mac. I know with his daughter, but the health problems improving and all, I know they got a lot to look forward to this with the Christmas season. Y'all have a good night.
All right, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. 800-956-7266. Always good to hear from Ronnie. Let's go to Eddie in Sharon next up here on Sports Talk. Hi, Eddie. Welcome into the program tonight. How are you?
Good. Phil, 2 things. Both of them about Clemson. Number one, did the doctors make any kind of a post-surgery report on Watson from his surgery Friday? And secondly, the kid from Orangeburg that last week was going to decide between Georgia and Clemson, did he make a decision?
Right. He committed to Clemson on Friday. He's a mid-year guy. In fact, he signed his financial aid agreement with Clemson right then, and just met with the media, and I'm waiting to see if he talks about the operation for Watson. Nobody had anything. Nobody reported anything out of Clemson over the weekend on that, so there was no release from the doctor. So maybe he'll say something to the media tonight that we can pass along to you.
All right, thanks, there.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Here on Sports Talk, lines are open once again. Give us a call and get you right up on the air. A couple of other quick notes to pass along to you. USC Upstate senior guard Fred Miller is the Atlantic Sun Player of the Week for the performance against Maryland. He had a game-high 13 points, also 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. Upstate played Maryland to a 10-point game up there.
Yeah, and they I mean, it was nip and tuck for
they already beat
a while.
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they won at Georgia Tech. Yeah. Also, back to Coastal Carolina football, head coach Joe Moglia was the runner-up for the Eddie Robinson Award. Linebacker Quinn Backus finished 4th in the voting for the Buck Buchanan Award for the nation's top FCS defensive player, and quarterback Alex Ross was 7th in the voting for the Walter Payton Award, presented to FCS Most Outstanding Player.
They played a great game. That was a great game to watch, Coastal and North Dakota State. I mean, you could tell now that Coastal is feeling us look, if we ever get home field advantage.
Well, all they got to do, here's what really stinks for them, because if they had won at North Dakota State, they'd be hosting in the semis because New Hampshire won, and they would have been seated ahead of New Hampshire, so they would be hosting hosting again
Conway.
had they won.
Well,
that
had
game.
they beat Liberty,
Had they beat Liberty,
they wouldn't have even been on the road last week,
Exactly.
and they've been.
Exactly.
They probably would have had a home game last week and had an easier path, but they missed that chip shot.
Probably be meeting North Dakota State in the championship game if that's the case. If they would have pulled it off.
All right, back to the phone calls we go. Let's go to John in Ruby. Our old buddy John in Ruby. Long time no talk.
Been a while.
What you been doing?
Hanging around taking care of the wife, as a good husband should.
There you go. There, I kind of figured maybe you weren't calling back to the Tigers beat the Gamecocks.
Nah, we both know too much about football. You take a new coach, change the program around, bring a 12-man recruiting class in, change coordinators a couple of times. We know how it runs.
Yes, sir, we do.
Know. Takes a while to build it back up. But that leads me into what I wanted to ask about the Settle kid out of Virginia, Tim Settle.
Yeah.
What's the latest on him?
Well, is there anything to know? I mean, he has been committed to who did he commit to? Was it Virginia he committed to? Has there been any switches? I haven't heard anything. Have you heard something?
No, I didn't know he had finally made a commitment. The last time I heard, he was back and forth, and never got a firm read on him anywhere, one way or another.
Correction from State Man. He is not committed, you're telling me, State Man? So first you give me erroneous information, State Man, to make me look stupid.
But she correct.
And then you come back and correct me. So I look even dumber.
As long as I call it audible.
So he apparently is not, Clemson was in on him for a while, but kind of, well, his last, I haven't followed him in some time, Virginia Tech, Penn State, UCLA, Alabama, Penn State, and Oklahoma State were his leaders the last time I looked at it.
I think that's been kind of
Clemson's looking at the Wilkins kid, Christian Wilkins, out of Connecticut, out of a prep school up there. Clemson, Penn State, Ohio State, Boston College. I think that's kind of where they're putting all their efforts now. Of course, we're in a dead period until January 14th, but you can still make phone calls and tweet and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. And what else can you do, K-Mac?
Keek, I don't know.
Keek. You ever keek?
No, I have not.
Pro, you ever keek?
I don't even know what that is.
I think State Man gets
that sounds like something
State Man gets a little kiki sometimes. Oh.
That's not an image that we need.
Anything else, John?
Yeah, Pro sounds like he's as about in the dark as this stuff as I am. I'm still.
I've never heard of Keek. Keek is a new one to me.
Yeah, I turned the lights out on it.
I'm a Green Acres guy. The phone's on the pole. If you want to use it, climb it.
There you go. Just like old Tiger Wayne. Climb up that pine tree so you can hear the show and make a phone call. All right, John, thank you very much. Quickly, let's go to Cletus in Rock Hill. This might be the first Cletus in 31 years we've ever had call the show. Cletus.
Yeah, that's actually my nickname, but I just want to tell you, I'm a Gamecock fan. We got beat by Clemson. You win one, you lose one. And I just want to know, I'm going to hang up after this, but I just want to know whose dog that was.
Could you hear that dog?
And I listen to it every night. Yes, sir.
Cletus, what are you talking about, Cletus?
Yeah. Whoever's next door to us has a dog that isn't a fan of our work.
In our office suite, we have other people next to us in a different suite, and they keep a dog in there. And that dog will sometimes get very loud and annoying.
Those dogs are barking.
But we're being nice neighbors here and not really complaining about it. I was hoping it wouldn't make it across the airwaves, but I guess it did. Yeah, Cletus, you're right. And South Carolina can look at the fact that they did lose to Clemson this year, but they won 5 in a row. So you can look at it as win 5, lose 1. You take that scenario. But the question is, will the Gamecocks be able to bounce back in 2015? I'm not so worried for them about the defense as I am about the offense.
Well, you still want that quarterback.
Well, I think a quarterback's pretty important position on a football team.
It is.
And you need to be good there. Be right back. Here is a little update from Dabo Sweeney on Deshaun Watson's surgery. As he spoke with reporters a little while ago, he said after practice, the surgery went well. Everything looks good right now. Plan is when he comes back in January, Watson, he'll be off and running and will be 3 weeks into the whole rehab process. He'll be in team meetings and do mental reps for the bowl game, but will not play in the game. Okay. He also said that Stanton Seconder is progressing well after last week's knee surgery. All right, back to the phones we go. By the way, Cleveland is playing the Hornets tonight. It was 21-0 at one point.
21-0.
21-0. Now it's 26-6 Cleveland. But it is the NBA, and everybody makes a run. Where are we going? Billy in Greenville. Hi, Billy. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, how you doing, Corn Blue?
Man, we're fantastic. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm Corn Blue. I'm a recruiting junkie, sort of like you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just ask this one: with South Carolina losing 4, recruits last week, what mistakes did they make as a staff, or that just goes with the territory from what you said?
That goes with the territory.
Man, they made some mistakes too, I think. But you're right; it does go with the territory. I mean, everybody loses recruits. Texas has had several decommitments. They just lost a big one today.
Let's face it, Billy. If they got those 4 recruits and they come in and they don't pan out, they made some mistakes.
Well, here's the thing. You got to look at it individually. Go back to the first one, Devon Durant. The mistake there was mentioning redshirting to him, and that really scared him away. There might have been some academic stuff about what would transfer, what wouldn't here to get him in January. But this guy's a tackling machine. I remember him from high school and in junior college, a tackling machine. He's a local kid. He wanted to be a Gamecock his entire life. I mean, I'm an outsider looking at it, okay? I don't claim to know what was happening inside, but from my perspective, they screwed that up. Austin Clark couldn't be helped. He decided he could get what he wanted closer to home at Virginia Tech, all right? So you couldn't help that. Josie Milton screwed that up because he was scared of what Spurrier said 2 to 3 years, and he was concerned about the coaching tenure. He didn't want to be in a situation where they're changing coaches.
And Billy, I think he used that as a convenient excuse. He wasn't committed because why the other kids stand if he changes on that?
Some kids are impacted differently by work.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Everybody's the same.
So he wasn't committed.
All right, whatever. Now, Paris Palmer is the strangest one. I've not heard him tell anybody a reason why he's switching. Penn State just put the bull rush on him and may have outworked South Carolina by just being on him. It makes no sense because there's a starting position waiting for him at South Carolina. South Carolina is much closer to his home than State College, Pennsylvania. Everything was right for him to come to South Carolina.
But Spurrier did. But he doesn't seem like he's been on the road as much recruiting in December, too. There was a lot of scuttlebutt.
He's been in some homes.
He didn't visit that kid.
Didn't get to that kid.
When
That's
a guy
why I'm
decommits
saying.
and the head coach wasn't in
You
the
would
house.
think that would be a priority.
Yeah.
And then, as I mentioned before, Alexander, he's now saying the coaching thing's a concern, but I think, too, the wide receiver opportunity at Louisville was big for him.
There you go.
All right, time to talk some high school football here on Sports Talk, brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. Big supporters of high school football all across the state of South Carolina. Of course, the North-South game in Myrtle Beach this past Saturday. The South won again. That's 3 in a row, beating the North 23-18. Now we turn our attention and our full support. This is the one thing everybody in the state can agree on for one time a year, and that is we want to see the Sandlappers beat the Tar Heels. And we welcome into the program, fresh off the practice field a little while ago, first day of practice now behind them, Coach Ben Freeman from Pillion. He's the head coach of the Sandlappers this year. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing great. Had a good day.
Good. Tell us about day one.
Well, it's the first time we were ever get on the field was this morning, even though we've been up here for a day and a half already. So it was good to finally get kids out there and start getting our schemes and just seeing what they could do. And we were real pleased with what we saw. It was a really good day.
Well, let's start with the quarterbacks and talk about how they looked and how quickly they're picking up the offensive assignments.
Daniel Thompson and Kelly Bryant both had really good days. Daniel is an extremely smart kid that understands the game just as well as any high school kid I've been around in a long time, and he picks up things really quick, and he can relate what we're calling things to what he was doing at Bowling Springs. So he has really picked up things fast, and he's a really pure passer. And people had kind of knocked him on his height, but he's to me he's right at 6 feet tall, and he's plenty tall enough to run what we're wanting to run. And then you've got Kelly Bryant that is 6'4" and got great feet and great legs and can do things with his legs. But I'm impressed with his arm strength and his accuracy. He is a really good passer too. So he's got the dual threat possibility, which is a dangerous thing. So we're excited about both of them.
What are you doing offensively? Are you running the spread? You're going to run some of the speed option, the read option. What are you looking to do?
We're going to be mostly spread. I mean, we're going to still try to run the ball a good bit. I mean, we don't want to be or we'll throw it at you down. So, but we'll do we'll do some running game with the 3 running backs that we got that we feel real good about too. But we want to give our playmakers a chance, to do something with it. So we'll try to spread it around and get in their hands as much as we can. So we'll throw it some too.
Yeah, just one time I want to have a coach tell me, you know what, we're lining up in the I with 2 tight ends and we're just going to pound them.
You have to do that too. It's hard to do that in this game because you have so many good players. When they dig where the defense has to line up, to snap, it makes it a little difficult to do that too. But that would be fun to be able to do that a little bit and see what would happen.
You have a talented selection of wide receivers, guys like Arcega Whiteside and Tavin Richardson and Freddie Phillips and Markevius Adams. It goes on and on. I'm interested in what you're going to do with Dupree Hart. How do you plan to use him?
Well, obviously, when we get the ball in his hands, that's interesting. He's playing quarterback so much this year for Northwestern that and had a great year that we picked him as a receiver because of his junior year receiving set records and statewide, and we're using as a receiver and try to get it on his hands out there. So he may end up the quarterback a little bit in a wildcat kind of formation, just to give him a chance to touch the ball. Because he is there. I mean, he's about as quick as anyone I've ever been around. He's a phenomenal athlete.
Hey, you're so deep at receiver, you're actually going to play Freddie Phillips at linebacker, right?
Right. And there's some very talented, receivers here, and that's a good thing. And you've got some guys that are small, but they're so quick. Like Dupree or Kaijon Tyler from Sumter. They are, the smaller scat back kind of, the smaller slot receivers, and then you've got the bigger guys like Taven and JJ that are big guys, and Marky Adams too. So it's a good combination, I think.
One more quarterback on your roster, Marquayne Goodman. How much work is he getting to use him?
We're going to we're going to use him a little bit at quarterback, and we're using him in a couple of different other spots. We're using him as a slot receiver some, and we're actually in a little bit of a wing formation, a tight end wing formation, where we're using him as a wing back. We can do a few things with him there because he's a very talented athlete too. He had some injury problems during the year that kept him from having the year he'd had as a junior quarterback. But we're going to find some things that we can do with him and give him a chance to show his skills off.
Talking with Ben Freeman, head coach of the Sandlappers, Jeff Calabrese, coordinator, and I'm looking at some of the guys. I mean, like Michael Barnett from Woodlands, a terrific defensive end prospect, and Cedarius Rookert from Spartanburg. He's a very talented DB. What do you think of the defense top to bottom?
Well, just watching them today, one thing that jumped out to me was the overall speed of our defense. You go through those guys, especially our secondary, how quick they cover and how well they cover. And, Rookert is just a phenomenal athlete. He's a return guy, and he's a great DB, that great safety. And, you've got Caleb Chalmers out there at corner that's going to Clemson. Amir Trapp from Daniel is a really small DB, but he's one of the best cover guys I've seen. I mean, he can cover anybody one-on-one, and, it just kind of goes on and on and on, and you just see these guys making play after play. Aaron Spann from Dorman, he's a big guy back there playing safety that covers really, really well. So, I really like what I saw out of our defense today.
What'd you think of Albert Huggins' first time getting a chance to see him up close outside of the combines?
Well, it was fun. I mean, Albert, if you're ever around him, he's got a great personality, and he likes to play football, and he likes to enjoy playing football. He smiles a lot, and he tries to make practice fun, which is infectious to the other guys around him. They enjoy it. But, he knows that, when the ball snaps, it's time to go, and he does a good job. He's very explosive. He's got a great first step, uses his hands well. He's going to be a really good player at the next level. Did you make it through today without any injuries? Yes, we did. We sure did. That's one of the, I guess, true challenges in an all-star game is to know, you're limited number-wise. So, you're going ones against ones a lot because your offense is having to run, as much of a scout team to your defense as they can and vice versa. So you got to know how much you can bang them around, how much you can't. So you definitely can't leave it on the field, Monday through Thursday this week. We're going to have him on Saturday. So today turned out good. Hopefully we can get through tomorrow and the rest of the week without him. Well, we thank you for the visit, and I'll be up there later in the week to see you in person. But if you don't mind, maybe we'll ring you up again tomorrow night to get another update. That'd be great. Love to talk to you. Thank you, Coach. We always appreciate it. Thank you. See you now. Bye-bye. All right, Ben Freeman from Pillion, home of KMAC.
Home of champions, as we say.
No, I don't think so. How many championships have y'all won?
Enough to say
it. Name one.
I won a championship in
it's all about me.
There's one. You said name one. I'll just name one that I was a part of.
Was that an individual
How many state championships did you win?
I got to the semifinals.
Oh, okay.
In basketball.
So you never won a state championship.
When you say I won, are you saying that was a team cross-country?
Team championship. Yeah, I'm all about the team.
No I in team.
Individual
when I was in Myrtle Beach this past weekend, they had the National Junior Cross-Country Championship over near the airport. And I saw a bunch of small, skinny people, young, skinny people.
Do they have enough variety of terrain in that area to have a cross country? I thought you were supposed to have some hills and some water traps and some.
They might have been running
water traps.
Yeah, that you got to jump over.
Well, I mean,
not an obstacle course.
You would be very good at cross country because you're used to running from people. So
yes.
All right, thank you, Ben Freeman. Dabo Sweeney, heard of him? He's coming up after the break.
Oh, it went great. He really did. He second year had his surgery on Thursday, and Deshaun had his.
Insurance.
Oh, it went great. He really.
All right, bowl practice continued today at Clemson. Dabo Swinney met with the media soon afterwards. First thing asked of him was the update on Deshaun Watson.
Oh, it went great. He really did. He second year had his surgery on Thursday, and Deshaun had his Friday. And, very, very well. In fact, they're already just like I knew those two. They're already hard at it. About every second they got, they're in the training room. And today, both of them coming down to my office, hobbling down on their crutches, but their attitudes are just tremendous. And, it's always good when you got somebody that's kind of going through that with you. And so those two guys will kind of be attached at the hip for the next several months. They're both wired the same way, and be good support. But everything's good, and just like we had hoped, we're getting all this work here, and then we're going to get all the rehab at the bowl site, and then when we get here, then Deshaun will continue to rehab, even though they're going to have a week off. But when they come back in January, just be really out of the gate and moving and running, as far as off and running with the whole process. And so far so good.
When he's in practice, y'all take the practice field in March. What will he be doing? Maybe with Larry Green?
Well, we'll see where they are, but yeah, they'll still be going through that whole process. Our goal is to, they'll be in the meetings and they'll be out there, mentally doing everything, but we won't have any football practice. We'll see how far they are. All that stuff, as far as levels that they take them, is based on how they respond to the treatment stuff. But our goal is by summer to have our leader out there, to be able to lead the troops. And Zach will be a senior, and obviously Deshaun, what he brings to the table would be great. Have him out there, with his command and presence, kind of challenging the guys through the summer. So we're hopeful and anticipate that, being a pretty certain thing, but you never know until you go through the process. Sure.
I asked Artavis about being named a freshman All-American. He said that just means I have to take my game to another level. What does that say about the kind of young man he is?
He's a special guy. He's a guy that came in here last January and kind of a raw guy when he got here, and he just went to work. He's very coachable. He put on about 5th August. Got in the film room, very coachable, took the criticism and stuff from spring ball and went and worked all summer. And, just the results that he's gotten this year are simply from the work that he put in. A lot of guys want to get results, but they don't want to do the work. He's put the work in and he's gotten the results. I'm really happy for him because it just kind of validates why you do it. Pay the price. He had a great year for us. Really just a tremendous year. He's just going to get better. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get faster. He's going to get more confident. He's got some experience now. That's going to that's going to take him to another level next year. And he's a guy that just takes a lot of pride in his performance and trying to be a consistent performer every day in practice, every drill. He's one of those guys that stays after practice and works on the little things. When you have those qualities to go with the talent, you're going to usually get a good player out of it. And that's where he is.
Yesterday, I thought the first time I finally watched Sarika in South Carolina, Wayne Gallman, he looked like he was running harder or faster. Am I just imagining?
He's just confident. I mean, as I said at the beginning of the season, y'all going to like Wayne Gallman. At some point, he's going to be a really good player. But it's just, guys have to learn. Guys have to go play. It doesn't just happen. And especially when you're dealing with a guy that really, he was a wingback. He really hadn't played a lot of true running back and understanding the zone and the power and the counter and how to run and pass protection. Just a lot going on. But we didn't really trust him at the very beginning. The season really got better and better. South Carolina game, you saw what you saw. But he's playing faster because he's more confident. He's got experience now, and that's what happens. But he's just like Artavis. He's a worker. He takes so much pride in his preparation. It is very important to him to be a great player. It's very important to Wayne to come through for his teammates. We don't have a guy on the team that takes more pride in that. He's a guy that's just going to keep getting better.
Dabo Sweeney from the Tigers practice today. We'll have more on Clemson, of course, throughout the week. Yesterday during halftime of the basketball game at Clemson, they brought out the Palmetto Bowl championship trophy, the one that's still in use till they get the new one. And Dabo and several members of the Tigers were there to flaunt the bowl, the trophy and the victory over South Carolina, as is well within their rights. I'm looking at a picture here of the Palmetto Trophy, and I swear it looks just like this has to be the old trophy because it's got the old games already attached. I think they just changed the nameplate on it. That looks like the crap they've been using all these years.
Now.
Come on, Phil.
No, I'm just saying that I don't think that's the new trophy. You were saying you think
that's what they said on the Twitter feed. Didn't it say that, the Clemson Twitter feed?
I don't think did it say it was I think they were just saying that we're going to display the Palmetto Trophy.
I wouldn't think they'd have I wouldn't think.
I think they're still working on the design. Yeah,
they wouldn't have a rendering this early.
Head coach Dabo Swinney honored 20% at halftime. Clemson basketball all in. Yeah. I'll have to just kind of. How do I go? Anyway, I don't think that's a new trophy. We'll wait and see. I don't think that's a new trophy.
By the way,
let's talk about the basketball real quick.
Yes.
Before we get too far away here, unless you want to mention the.
The Hornets had cut it to 3-corner, had a chance to cut it to 1, but now Cleveland is going on an 11-0 run.
Looking forward to the basketball game. I think there's some really good individual matchups across the board. I think the best one's going to be right at the point. Hall against Notice. Hall had a great game against Auburn, matching his career high with 20 points. Notice is having a terrific year. These are two, not pudgy, but two thick point guards that I think are going to beat each other up and down the court with constant pressure, trying to force turnovers and things of that nature. I think that's going to be a heck of a matchup.
You talk about Notice.
And both of them like to get to the rim.
Yeah, but you talk about Notice, you got to remember that Ty Johnson is the mix and probably will be the dominant ball handler. The one thing I worry about, I don't
know. I think Notice has had the ball quite a bit.
Yeah,
in his hands.
But a lot more comfortable with the ball in his hands.
Ty Johnson is a facilitator. But I will say this: here's a key point in this game, because the guards are physical. If any officials are out there listening, please let them play. I don't want to see cheap fouls out front, 30 feet away from the basket. Let the guys play.
Foul's a foul, pro. No matter where it occurs, when it occurs, how it occurs.
That's what I'm saying. Well, you look at the Big East and you think about fouls, and then you look at the ACC and think about fouls. They kind of officiate a little bit different. I think the key point is the athleticism that they display on the front court. Clemson cannot waste South Carolina's deep backcourt, because they're going to send 3 or 4 guys who can play the point at different sizes.
Yeah,
Darius Thornwell can get
Thornwell against either Blossom Game or Grantham. Noko and Chikavicius would be a good matchup in the middle. There's a lot of good pairings around the court that will be intriguing.
Yes.
And Clemson's dominated this series here in recent years. Frank Martin's yet to beat the Tigers in his 2 tries. So we'll talk more about that, of course, as we head towards game night on Friday. USC football tomorrow. We'll have that covered, as well as Clemson. More Shrine Bowl too. Thank you, K-Mac, Pro, State Man. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.